My name is Kevin VELA. I'm a partner at a law firm called VELA Wood, and I have the pleasure of moderating this panel on the future of workspace environments and culture. With me today, we have 5 panelists. I'd like to just introduce them one by one. As we go through each panelist, I'm going to ask them to give a brief overview of their company, their role in their company, and if they could just answer a question, what was your first job, and how does that mesh with what you do now? What did you learn in your first job with what you do now? So let's start down here at the end with Leo Resig. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are, thank you.
Leo from Resignation Media and TheChive.
Thank you, yeah. Like you said, I'm Leo Resig, Resignation Media. You see what we did there. I am the co-founder and CEO of the more popular known website, thechive.com. This is my brother John, by the way. I'm the co-founder and CEO of TheChive, and I get stuck with the boring day-to-day, visionary growth, operations, fun stuff. John gets to basically be the player on the field of the stadiums that I helped build. And I love that question about the first job you ever had, because again, it brings us back to I can't get away from my brother. My first job was a caddy at the Fort Wayne Country Club, where we ate shit for 5 hours a day and for $12 all in with tip. And but I gotta say, that's where I get my shitty posture, and that's how, as my parents put it, that's where you're gonna learn to talk to adults.
Yeah, so I'm John Resig. I'm the president of TheChive. This is my brother Leo, who this is his first public appearance. So, yeah, I think it's a really great question. Leo, the good way to look at TheChive is that Leo builds the ballpark, and then I get to go out and play ball. So to have him up here is really cool. He's an intelligent cat, and we caddy together at Fort Wayne Country Club. The only thing I can add to that is that obviously we're Bill Murray's business partner, and we've started the William Murray Golf Line nationwide. One of the hats I'm wearing here, and obviously. It's cool because you never think that your first job is going to inform the job that you have now. And getting Bill Murray to do absolutely fucking anything at all. I mean, he's self-admittedly impossibly lazy, but also a very smart guy. He's not going to get into business with people who he doesn't trust. And that's one of the things we learned, obviously, in the last 5 years with Bill is that it's trust first and where you come from. So the fact that he was a caddy and we were a caddy was the one thing that really got him to sign off on his first commercial deal ever. And so that's really cool and cool question on your part. But yeah, you never know where your first job's going to take you. And for us, it's taken us to some pretty cool heights. So that's about it.
Okay, go ahead.
What's going on? My name is Neville Medhora. What the hell was that? Yeah, I'm a part of a couple companies, one called AppSumo, one called The Hustle, and then my current one I'm focusing on is CopywritingCourse.com. So it's like a big blog that agencies read, and we do all their marketing and stuff like that for them, specifically email stuff. And my first job was I owned a rave company, like rave parties. I've never to this day in my life been to a rave. But I own one of the largest rave retailers online, yeah.
Throw us a rave here.
I've never been to a rave, I have no idea. My name and company, Neville Medhora and Copywriting Course.
So my name is Vijay Mehra. This is my space, atxFactory. I founded this thank you. I founded this about a year ago, and we launched in September of 2016. I created this with the idea of doing something a little bit different for Austin. You've got the WeWorks and Galvanizes here, kind of the big dogs, and what we wanted to do a little bit differently was offer something that Austin can truly appreciate, a little more intimate, a little more community focused, and something that feels a little more like a family. And so that was the idea behind this place. If anyone ever wants to come check it out, pop in for a day. grab a desk. It's all yours. My first job, shit, I've had so many jobs. I think the one that I can remember, the first one, was a lifeguard, also at a country club. Probably one of the greatest jobs as a 15-year-old. For many reasons. But I realized, as much fun as it was, I saw all the folks that were coming in, bringing their kids, and I knew as a lifeguard, the lifestyle they had and afforded, I wouldn't be able to do as a lifeguard. And so, and then plus, eventually my body would go south, and it's nice when you're 15. Yeah, I learned a lot from that. I was able to meet a lot of the members of the country club, and heard a lot of the stories and success stories of these folks who were bringing their families in, and I got super motivated at a young age, and I just continued to build on that. Learned everything from networking to how to build businesses. It sounds silly now as I'm saying it, but just sitting on a chair similar to this, you get off and you go and talk to these folks, and you hear some pretty incredible success stories, and I got motivated super early. Yeah, that's my story.
My name is Radney Wood. I'm here on behalf of GlobeKick, but I'm also a partner with Kevin and VELA Wood. GlobeKick, I act as kind of a jack of all trades. The company, we're part of the kind of new, our addition to the workspace revolution is that we're kind of introducing desk independence, which is this idea that you can work from anywhere. So we have curated programs, or what we call an experience. We go around to different cities a month at a time. We take remote professionals, people that have gotten the okay from work to work remotely, freelancers, people like that, to go around, build community, and have this wonderful experience. I kind of just go between doing the legal work for GlobeKick, also kind of help you with marketing, sales, anything, just kind of all the above. I'm kind of known as the jack of all trades. My first job, not nearly as cool as everyone else, I worked on a farm. I baled hay as a kid. Grew up in a country town in upstate New York, very blue collar. But yeah, I think it taught me the most cliche thing. It's just, I had to get up every day and go to a farm and stack bales of hay. It was hard work.
All right, I think there's a lot of really interesting stories up here, but we really want to focus on workplace culture and then workspace revolution. So I'm going to try and target some questions towards some of the panelists up here. Now, Radney brought up an interesting point, the term desk independence. What we want to do is encourage you guys to send out a tweet with a question, use hashtag desk independence. And at the end of this, if you have a question for any of the panelists, we'll take questions for them. And if you can't remember their names, just identify them by the shirt they're wearing if you think they're good looking or whatever. So desk independence is the hashtag we want to use. Send a tweet out, ask a question, we'll take those at the end. So I want to start with Vijay. This is Vijay Space, atxFactory. Now, Vijay, you run a software company, right? That's what's funded this thing.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the culture of your software company, because obviously that had to be an inspiration for this place.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually moved down here about 3 years ago with my software company, and we went through the grueling process of trying to find space and real estate here, and it was such a pain in the ass. And unfortunately, I didn't know any good brokers at the time here in Austin, and it was a full-time job trying to find something. And we found a temporary space, but it got to a point where we decided to, let's just go and buy our own building and build our own space, build what we think would be the perfect place for us. Well, we bit off a little more than we could chew, and we ended up with this building, and my software company couldn't fill all this up, so I decided to create the perfect place, what we thought was the perfect place, and open the doors for other members to come in and join as our co-working world. And so in my software company, we were huge. Culture was our biggest thing. We won best places to work in Austin and Dallas. And it was really tough finding that, and the space that we're in, the real estate, actually means it matters. Like, a lot of folks think, oh, just get a couple cool Willie Nelson posters, throw them up, and you'll be a funky place. We'll be the next cool Austin hit place. But it's not. It's all about the people around you. And so really curating that community in the space, coupled with the real estate and how we built the space out, we spared no expense, and we learned a lot from what from my software experience, knew what we wanted in the real estate space. So yeah.
Okay, so let me ask Leo and John over here. You guys have built what seems to be an amazing culture over there. I think a lot of us who have experienced any time on your sites can kind of get a feel for it. How would you describe your culture? And then tell us something that you're doing right that you don't think other companies are doing. What substantially? There's a lot of content providers out there, right? You guys certainly didn't invent providing content or even fun or engaging content on the web. What has enabled you guys to do this so well and so successfully?
Well, actually, we did invent it. No. Honestly, I would say don't try too hard. Like, that was the one thing. Like, John and I didn't have meetings to discuss how we're going to just form this culture and form this fun environment. We've always been in the entertainment business and in the sense of entertaining people, and now we're in the happy business, where you can take a time out from your day, come to one of our properties, get away from the bullshit in life, and be happy. And that's kind of what we've always been doing. We just haven't realized it. And so when it came down to building our space and creating the culture, we didn't want to try too hard. We've been to too many places that they force it on you.
Forced fun.
Forced fun. Yeah, don't get a bunch of pool noodles and throw it around the office and think it's a fun environment. But I mean, just to kind of cap that off, like we're a photo and video site, right? It's very image rich. And at the end of the day, we just wanted to build a place that was basically a character in the story that we're telling. So everything in our space is meant to be a backdrop.
Yeah, the whole idea was that you're building a character in the show. So if you're running a visually heavy site and you're trying to create a culture reflects from the inside out, not the outside in. So you have to, that authenticity is actually important. I'm sure you guys know if you sometimes you see a movie trailer that it looks so good in an opening weekend, no one goes. And I always wonder why that is. The collective consciousness knows when it's total bullshit. They know if we're forcing fun down people's throats. So the workplace environment, don't get together and overthink it. Just think of what your employees would want. And in our case, they want alcohol. They want a lot of it. So we built 2 bars. We built a keg. We built a walk-in keg refrigerator. That's the stupidest thing we ever built, and it holds the 16 kegs. We don't need that much, but you have to understand that feeds the culture. And I'll give you a good example. It's you're not going to burn through 16 kegs in a week unless you work within the creative constructs of trying to drink it. And that means opening the Chive up on Thursdays and Fridays to veterans, to first responders, to police officers, to active duty members who want to come to the Chive and experience the culture. And now you're getting the inside out reflects now from the outside in. People come to the Chive and they want to know it's a great place. And it can't be fake when they go in. When they see the trailer, they got to want to buy and go to the movie. So when they get to the movie, if you're some of our pillars, our cornerstone, which is our military, active duty members, police, the people who serve for a living, people who put their life on the line for our country, then you can walk in the Chive starting on Thursday at noon, and no one's going to ask you to leave. No one's going to ask you for anything but your ID, and you can walk up to the bar and have one of those beers from the 16 fucking kegs that we got. So, and that's important, and that's how it works.
I think all the content you guys put out is causing my business productivity with all the time my employees spend on your website. Let's ask kind of a similar question to Neville over here. So Neville, you've built a number of business, right? A number of digital businesses. What's important to you when you're building those businesses about how you actually work on those businesses? Not the work that's done, but how you work on them.
Yeah, I feel like an asshole answering this after that. Like, I view it from a really selfish standpoint. Like, I know myself really well. I get irritated staying in the same place all the time. Working in the same office is just like, it's not my jam. I have to move around a bit, right? And so I've been involved where we had a lot of employees at one point, and it's just like a lot of babysitting, a lot of management. I'm sure you get this all the time. And so this new business, I was like, I want to be super high profit margins, super low head count, preferably no one. If a computer can do it, I would rather have no one do it. And so I heard a great quote by this guy, Joe Sugarman, and he was like, anything you can do to get rid of people and paper, do it. And so Copywriting Course is super, super automated. There's 3 part-time people that work. I'm the only full-time one. And then a shit ton on Fiverr and Upwork, like outsourced people. And because you have like stuff like Slack and email's so good now and texts and everything, you can really communicate with these people like in real time. So Google Hangouts, it's free, it's awesome. Zoom is another tool we use, and it's just like you can interact with people wherever they are in the world. So I'm the opposite. I want almost no one, and that way I can kind of like work from everywhere.
So Rad, with GlobeKick, you guys are kind of banking that the rest of the world, at least your customers, see life or see work as the way you see it. What makes you guys feel confident that this is going to happen?
I think it's less about them seeing it the way we see it, and more about, we're a part of this generation, grew up in it, and we've experienced it. And I think from knowing that, we're able to say that this is the future, right? People are going this way. I used to work at a big law firm, and I worked there for 4 years, and I wanted to travel. And if they had a program like this, then maybe I'm still working at big law. But so many of my friends, so many people I've met, Austin, I think the social media revolution has kind of pushed us that way, where people want to have that selfie in front of the pyramids or something, right? So it's a trend that's growing. I think what we want to do is we see all of the benefits from travel, the wonderful experiences that we've all had, the people we've met. And we know that this next generation that's really about travel, they're going to start demanding this as a benefit and as something that they're going to have be a part of their life, and they're going to work it into that. So we just want to be a platform, right, to help facilitate that happening, because it's already occurring. 20 years ago, the internet forever changed how we work, but where we work hasn't really shifted yet. We want to be a part of that, right? I mean, Neville just went over all of these tools we have. With those tools, why work out of, no offense, why work out of a co-working space in Austin all of the time, right? Like Neville, work in different places. Like maybe you're in atxFactory for 3 months, and then maybe you're in Valencia, Spain for a month, right? With these tools and the desire to explore and see, I think people are naturally curious, and that's what we're banking on, is curiosity.
So will you invest in Valencia factory then
if VJ's opening it?
We're
All right,
going there.
Before we move on, because we have the guys on the Chive here and they employ so many people, I want to ask them, is there something that you think you're doing wrong? Like if we just said you could reset this right now, because I run a business, I have employees, and things develop in patterns, and you have a history. Is there one or two things that you might want to change about the way you guys run your business from a cultural perspective?
We used to take a lot of field trips, employee field trips to Palazzo Strip Club. It's the best right off I-35. It's the best in the business.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
That's not a lie. Hiring the right managers is a good. My brother speak to us better than I can. But once you grow, being a big company is important. And then you go through the hyper growth period. If you hit the lottery, you're going to go into hyper growth, and you got to know how to manage that. And we don't have a fucking clue. So you start hiring key hires to manage people below you. Having those managers not silo off employees, not have a big ego. I mean, Leo can speak to this better than I do, but to your question, do we do everything right? Like, the Chive's gotten to where the Chive is by making a lot of mistakes. I don't think we're good at hiring managers. We've gotten a lot better recently, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to just touch on what John's saying, that's exactly right. When I think it comes down to don't go to the grocery store hungry. When your company's experiencing a lot of success, that's great, and that's the golden ticket, and that's what we wake up every morning to do. But you gotta keep your eye on the prize, and you gotta grow not only grow at a good speed and hire as many people as you can handle, but hire, like John said, hire the managers that can handle all these people that you're hiring, because
they're the ones that perpetuate the culture. And if they're not gelling with you, if they got their own agenda, you're in a world of pain.
So if anything, grow, as the saying goes, it's hire slow, fire fast.
Okay, so let's shift a little bit. I want to talk about workspace revolution for most of the rest of the time, then we'll take some questions. Remember, #desk independence. I want to ask Vijay, as you've got you can't throw a rock and not hit a co-working space. That said, co-working spaces are raising money like crazy, right? It's true you can't, but they're way underutilized. There's more demand than we have supply for co-working spaces. So there's a definite shift in the way people want to work. What does the workspace revolution mean to you? And having this space here, what do you see happening as far as workspace goes in the future?
Damn, that's a tough one. Okay, so let me think about this. What is the first part of the question again?
What is workspace revolution? Look, here's the thing: is you're already in it. Like,
Yeah.
to you, it's normal to just go work at a co-working space,
Right.
and to just pay monthly or just have a desk.
Right.
And for a lot of people, and a lot of people here might be entrepreneurial minded or work for startups, they get it. But our parents don't get it, right? There's a
Right.
whole generation of people that don't understand this. So I'm just wondering, what does it mean to you? Like, if we're trying
Got
to
it.
push the envelope further.
Sure. So I mean, right now it's awareness, and it's not just happening obviously through me. I was in a meeting the other day, and it was all co-working founders in Austin, and we counted 58 co-working businesses here, 58 different co-working spaces. It's super competitive, and you would or maybe not think that it's that competitive, and you wouldn't believe how many conversations I have with folks when I tell them what I do, and I tell them I run a co-working space. They're like, "What the hell is that? What's a co-working space?" And I try to describe it, and it's helped me focus and narrow down my pitch. But it's still like, shit. Like, what is it that we do? And the more I recite it, and the more I tell the story, I think it's helping me improve kind of not only my pitch, but what we're offering here. And it's helping us become a little more competitive in a space where, you know, you've got almost 60 co-working spaces in a city of what, like maybe over 1 million people, just over 1 million people. And it goes back to kind of what I said earlier, right? It's community. It's it's offering a place where folks feel welcomed every day. Our community managers know you by your first name. They know who you are. They know a quirky fact about you. And for me, as a founder, as much as I'd rather be on a beach in Europe or South America, I'm here every day. Like I'm here, boots on the ground, like knowing our members, knowing what's going on. If the bathroom's out of toilet paper, I'm on the phone with our cleaning service. Like, why the hell is there not toilet paper in the stalls? And so that helps us. Obviously, it's not just the toilet paper. There's a lot more that goes to it, but it helps us keep competitive with what's out there. My goal is to continue to grow this model. I want to continue to build awareness. Every one of the folks that I sat in this meeting with on Monday, we talked about how we just continue to drive awareness and partner up and work against and with at the same time the bigger guys like the WeWorks, like the Galvanizes, and continue to drive awareness. Right? You can get outside of the traditional stale walls of your house or of a traditional workspace and come into a co-working space. And so again, it's a lot of things, but ultimately it's making sure our folks here are happy, the community's happy, and we continue to drive awareness by letting everyone know what co-working's about.
I want to jump in real quick too, because I think I basically want to answer that same question. What is this?
Well, I was going to ask it. I was going to make a joke first, which I thought would have been very well received.
Well, make the joke.
And then I was going to ask the exact same question to you.
Okay.
Here's my joke.
It's like this a lot.
How many people in the audience here are employers? How many of them actually employ people? How many of them are employees? Okay, that's good. I thought it was going to be all employees. I was like, that's the fucking problem because the employers aren't here. So hopefully the employers who are here are taking note of this and they're understanding that this is what people want, right? That this can work. And that's what I really want to explore is how we make this work. So Radney, what does workspace revolution mean to you?
I think it's about finding where the next great work is coming from. And what I mean by that is if you look at the history of the Industrial Revolution and forward, right, we had office parks. Bell Labs had this way of like wanting people to meet at the water cooler, honestly, so they could like talk and share ideas. And then we went into these towers, and we've done all these different things. And I think the co-working space is a vital part of answering this question. I think the next great work comes from collaboration. But not just collaboration with people that you work with on a day-to-day, right? Collaboration with a scientist, an engineer, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, someone that you're just talking your ideas out. And the co-working space and ideas like GlobeKick allow you to have that collaboration. And I think that's 2.0. Like, that is the future. That's the workspace revolution. This is where the next great ideas, the next great work will be done. And when corporate America realizes that, a lot of them will have lost out because they're still in towers, and people like theChive and other places will have grown up around them. But I think that's really what it is. Like, people are onto something in this more collaborative way of being. Build community, build collaboration. That's your workspace revolution.
Yo, can I answer this one?
Amen.
Do you mind if I answer why I like co-working spaces?
Please.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm a co-working pro. I've been doing it since like 2001. And the first co-working space, like a coffee shop, right? And the biggest problem was that is if you get up to pee, you have to be like, oh, can you watch my stuff? And hope like the dude next to you doesn't steal your shit. So that's like the biggest thing. Co-working spaces have bathrooms and they're secure and stuff like that. The other thing is internet sucks most places. Like in coffee shops, it's terrible. It's just so hit or miss. Over here, I bet you have crazy uptime, right? And fast internet, right? So that's another thing. And you could just like keep your stuff at the space. You don't have to pack it up every single time. And also working from home gets really boring if you do it like more than 3 days in a row. And so there's all these reasons that like the coffee shop was like the first like co-working space, and then it just became more formalized. And at a coffee shop, you buy a bagel, you buy a coffee, you get jacked up on way too much caffeine, and you spend like $20 to $30 each time you're there. I do, because you have to eat lunch there, breakfast there. You have to fight for space. And if you're in San Francisco or New York, good luck trying to find like a proper table that's bigger than this and that's not super crowded. So there's like tons of reasons co-working spaces are way better. 30% of Microsoft employees in New York now work out of a WeWork, because they don't have to be at work every day. Also, I can wake up in the morning, I'm literally at my laptop in bed or on the computer working right away. I don't have to take a shower, I don't have to get ready, I don't have to drive. And so for all those reasons, co-working spaces are way better for a lot of jobs.
Yeah, screw WeWork.
We just met. I did not pay him to say any of that.
Okay, so this is a perfect transition. What I want to talk about next is, we're talking about the workspace revolution. What does your workspace actually look like? So I want to go back to Vijay here, because you have a lot of people who need the workspace here. They need certain amenities. What sort of things? I think we all understand that they need internet. Okay, everyone gets that. They might need a printer these days. I don't know if anyone uses a fax machine anymore, but the collaboration is an interesting point. What other sort of things are you seeing that this is providing for them, Vijay, that they know they can understand? They understand they can come and get here that maybe they didn't think they could get without being in a formal office environment.
Sure. So we don't have a fax machine, although I'm going to put that on the list. So one of the big things for us, we didn't want to nickel and dime. Like I remember,
Do they have to clean the bathrooms in the middle of the thing. Is this?
you might have to.
This is when the guys come.
Yeah, it's pretty noisy in there, huh? No, it's a hand dryer. So for us, with my experience as a software company, we had an office in Galvanize, and one of the things that bothered me the most was how much they nickeled and dimed us, whether it was renting a conference room or printing stuff off. And so for us, what we wanted to do here was offer amenities that folks, are no-brainers: fiber internet, phone service in conference rooms, printer, even a shredder if you need to shred documents. But then we wanted to go above and beyond and offer a few additional amenities, like we have locker rooms and showers here. So a lot of our folks ride their bikes to work. There's a few gyms locally. Austin Bouldering Project is right down the street. So a lot of our members will go there during lunch, after work. They'll come back here, shower, get ready for a date, head out. We'll bring food trucks on site. So like a lot of these like softer things that people just don't really think about in terms of like, oh yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Like it helps productivity of my team. We decided to introduce this into the factory model. In addition to that, we also, we're doing events. We're doing stuff like this, bringing people in the community together where we can all collaborate over beers and whiskey and vodka, and we can share ideas. Yeah, here's the company I'm running. Here's what I've learned. Here's what sucks. Here's what's great. And it's a lot of times through these conversations and through these community events that really big ideas happen. And so we're pushing more towards the event side and that community building side. And yeah, we're leaning a little more heavily towards that to help us grow our brand and who we are and differentiate ourselves from a lot of the other folks out there.
Okay, so let's kick it over to the guys from the Chive, because I think of the people on the panel, you guys employ the most people. And it sounds like you guys have a really fun, cool environment. But what does a workspace look like inside of the Chive?
Well, first of all, to your point about you have to have people watch your shit at a coffee shop so it doesn't get stolen. Our employees are suspect. They steal each other's shit and then they try to sell it back. Happened today. So that's why co-working is an amazing experience, because people think that everyone's watching and they're really not. At our office, we have cameras everywhere and they still steal each other's shit. But anyway, we've got, in terms of like amenities.
Yeah, are people standing up all day long? Are they meeting a lot? Or do you have, beanbag chairs? Are they playing pool? It sounds like they're drinking all day long.
I mean, early days, you kind of, yeah. early days, you kind of take a page from the Google playbook, and like we built a slide in our office. It's essentially a wooden bowling alley lane at a 45-degree pitch. Highly recommended that anyone not wearing jeans goes down it. If you're wearing a skirt or a dress, you're gone, and we have cameras on it. So, I mean, we get some great footage. I'll share with everyone later.
They might need to use your shredder later, Vijay.
Yeah, exactly. No, but we, like John said, we built a bar into the office. We have a slide. You know, we didn't want to go all out with, like, what do we need, because this is what'll make our office cool. But, you know, you think about the things of, like, not everyone wants to sit at their desk every day. So we've got, everyone's got a stand-up desk. You know, everyone's got access to snacks and water and any drink they want.
Water.
Water's
Nice.
key, hydrate.
That's awesome.
We pay for all of our employees' lunches every single day, and I think
Which, by the way, we started with John and I, and then we got like 1.5 more employees, and we were like, hey, yeah, we'll bring in lunch every day. And then we had like 10 employees. I guess we're still going to do this lunch thing.
Yeah, I mean, you do. I mean, the litmus test is whatever you do, and don't take your playbook from Leo and I. It's an irresponsible environment. It is. It's a sandbox. If you're a creative company, you have to create, you know, these accidental collisions throughout the workspace. So it's advantageous to have an open floor plan. But if your employees are trying to leave around 5 or 5:30 and they're not hanging out with each other, you done fucked up. Like, you know, you just know. You know, there's a simplicity in what you do in the workspace, and these knobs that you have to turn. But you got to gauge if your employees are happy or not. What makes our employees happy? That we spend $100,000 a month on fucking alcohol. Like, I can't stress it enough. They're alcoholics. That's what makes them happy. If you're advice media, I presume you're a fucking weed head. Like, you need weed. Get them weed. I just, you gotta like think outside the box to make your employees happy. And it's not about the space, it's about the people that you work with. Because the number one thing that people cite when they quit their job is not the workspace. It's the people that they work with. And that's the most important thing. It's the people that you put in the space that matter. And that's all that matters, really. You don't quit your job because you said, they didn't have a bar at the place, and I didn't give my son chips at 2:30 because this motherfucker did. Or, you know, that's not why you quit your job. You quit your job because your manager was a dick and the person you worked with was a dick, and that's why you quit your job. So once you know you've got the people right, that's number one, then you really do have to focus on the workspace. Making it cool, like, you know, this is a great space, but it's people first. And a lot of managers, a lot of owners don't give a shit about their employees. Like, they really don't. They're just there for the EBITDA, but you gotta hire the right people first, then the space in which those people can interact.
Yeah, by the way, the Biggie mural with Willie
It's
Nelson.
fucking with
Amazing.
Willie. I mean, that's genius.
We're stealing that.
Yeah.
It's copyrighted, guys. Or trademarked, whatever it is. He's my attorney.
Okay, I want to go back to Rad mentioned.
My breath. Yeah, here, get this.
He's not an alcoholic. He's on pain meds.
Take a picture.
Thank you to the Chive intern sitting
Really
in front.
appreciate that, man.
Radney, you had mentioned that you worked at a big law firm. What was something, and I want to ask this to everyone on the panel, what was something about working in a different job, in a more traditional structure, that you didn't like, that you remember from a job that you might have had before, that you didn't like, and that you've made a conscious effort to be different now?
Yeah, I think, actually, I think Leo and John touched on it a bit as well. It's the hierarchy, right? When I was at big law, so I worked in New York City at a big law firm called Skadden one summer, and then I came down here to Austin, and I ended up working at a big law firm as well called Baker Botts, and they both had elements of this. Some were more pronounced in different offices, but the partners at times, they didn't even know your name or cared about you at times. Now, Austin was a bit different. In Skadden, it was very much that way. And this hierarchy that existed that separated the leadership or the bosses from the people it's stifling, right? And it leads so many people to leave. I mean, law is this really interesting place where you work at a law firm for 3 to 4 years and then you quit and you go to another law firm, and then law firms are paying tens of thousands of dollars to hire on new lawyers, to recruit them away from other places because lawyers are unhappy, right? And I think a lot of it comes from the lack of collaboration, the lack of treating people as co-equals, and understanding that, yeah, maybe this young associate can teach you something about the law, or is at least busting their ass and doing a lot of good work for you, and you can appreciate it. So it was always the hierarchy. It just kind of left something to be desired.
So Vijay, what did you do before you started your software company? Did you work for a big company? Was there something that you didn't like about it that you do differently now?
Yeah, I actually worked for a real estate investment trust, also in New York City. I hated everything about it. I thought it would be cool. When I lived in New York, all my buddies were doing the private equity finance thing, and before I joined the real estate investment trust, I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt to work. And I felt out of place. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give my try in the finance world. And so I joined this company, and I was wearing a suit and tie every day, and I hated it. It was awful. And not to mention, I wanted to travel. I wanted to take vacation. My vacation was limited. I wanted to be able to bring new ideas in here. It was very corporate, very, very cut and dry. And so it was difficult for me to kind of break out and be creative in the corporate walls. And so, yeah, I ended up, kind of marrying a couple ideas together and starting my software company, and I left that.
Okay, I'm going to pitch this one to Leo. This is a deep question. I spent a lot of time writing this one, so give me a sec, all right? I pretty much wrote it for you guys. At the surface, Workspace Revolution seems to be about drinking more beer and having more fun. But no one comes to the Chive because you guys serve beer inside your office, right?
Never.
Serving beer does not directly lead to EBITDA. What really underlies the success that having fun at the office creates? How do you take that momentum and turn it into profit?
Well, I mean, we've touched on it before. It's the energy that it creates. I mean, I'm not saying the bar creates the energy. Everyone in this room would be shocked if you showed up at the Chive 5 days a week, most days before 4 o'clock. You'd think everyone's drinking. No one. Like, it's kind of crickets in there. Everyone's heads down. But I will say, and we do some original production in the office, so you'll see some shoots going on, and that adds an energy to it, And like John said, it's those accidental collisions that, yeah, the bar is a fixture, and all these fun amenities, they're things that are nice to have when the time presents to have them, but at the same time, it honestly comes down to the success of our business is the free-flowing collaboration between everyone at all times. And quite honestly, we move people around a lot. There's no one who just sticks a flag on their desk and is like, I'm never fucking moving. You'll have to fire me or I'll die. That just doesn't work.
You move them around just in the office physically or in their positions or
physically.
both?
Leo likes
Both.
to play musical chairs. He does. It's his favorite thing.
Well, I mean, it's working within creative constraints, right? We don't have a huge building. In fact, it took so long to build out that by the time we moved in there, we were out of room. And to that end, and we dabble in a lot of different industries, whether it's, ad-supported digital publishing or e-commerce. We have a charity and all that. So we've got a lot of different, not only departments and divisions, we've got different companies within it. And as those companies grow or shrink based on performance or market conditions, you've got to move people around. And everyone, I mean, no one's going to come up to me and tell me how pissed they are about it or not. But at the same time, people do like a new next door neighbor sometimes. And I think that helps out a lot. And through that, you get productivity out of your employees.
Radney, let me flip it over to you. So with GlobeKick, you're not only going to go and ask companies to send their employees away for a month or 3 months, out of the purview of the manager's eyes, but also you're going to go to the employer and say, and I want you to pay for it, right? We want you to pay for the flights, we want you to pay for the program fee. What makes GlobeKick think that this will be a worthwhile investment for the employers?
Yeah, I think it comes back to how you treat your employees and caring about them. I think we could use a little anecdote of our own law firm. So VELA Wood has recently adopted GlobeKick model, and we recently sent our first associate over there. He's in Lisbon right now. I looked at the numbers. He billed $5,000 more in February, a shorter month, than he did in January. I tend to think part of that is when he knew he had this trip coming, he felt so appreciated. I mean, how many times has he emailed me to just thank me for this opportunity, the loyalty that you would engender, the experience that they'd have, even if there's a little dip in productivity when they're away, and I don't think there would be, but even if it were, the loyalty that you engender, the lack of turnover, I think it's a great recruiting tool as well. I think you go to employers and say, hey, you want the best talent? Offer this. People will be clamoring for this, right? And so I think it's a small investment to have a much bigger return.
I couldn't agree more. I love that he said loyalty like 3 times in that sentence. And a good example on our end would be like Snapchat just went multi-billion, right, with their raise. We've never had more employees try to work at the Chive from Snapchat than this week. We got 3 resumes from Snapchat employees this week. And we're like, well, aren't you rich now? And their response was, it's 4 to 5 years to vest. Okay? And that's important. Like, they kind of are rich because, 4 to 5 years, that's going to be worth something. That's meaningful dollars for these people. And yet they still want to work here because the money isn't worth it. The money after 4 or 5 years, those are precious years of their life. There's a certain time frame within which employees, even the ones that love money, would rather have a better culture than money. So if you can imbue some sorts of sense of loyalty, however you do it in the workspace, eventually in the long term it pays off more than cash. It's something worth remembering and why this panel is not unimportant. It is.
Okay, I want to go to questions, and then I want to wrap up with a different thought. So let's go to Twitter. We have one question, so this shouldn't take too long. Well, one question from someone who's not directly related to someone else on the panel. This is for Vijay. Distractions can take up to 5 minutes to get back on track. Aren't co-working spaces full of distractions? I have that exact same question.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. That person's related to me?
No. Oh. This is the one independent question. I think my mom sent a few, but I'm not going to ask them. One of them's just inappropriate.
It's like my sister. She's probably here somewhere. So the way we designed the factory here, we created kind of 2 worlds, and all of you have experienced one of the worlds. So we separated it by a work world and a play world. And our work world is on the other side, which none of you have been into, nor will be allowed in today. It's kind of where your head's down. It's where folks, are in their computer, they're in their laptops, they're having meetings, they're working. And we announced this when you joined. We were very clear on like, hey guys, this is the work world, this is the play world, and we created this bar area here and this room, which is going to get turned into an extension of the playroom. We're going to put pool tables, and we've got a ping pong table in here already, couches, video games, arcades, and so forth, where people can get distracted. And so by designing the space in such a way that you can have your place where you focus, but also your place where you can escape, it kind of drives that home to folks here, and so they're not in the work world, shouting across each other, throwing ping pong balls or playing beer pong in the middle of in the floor space. And so, yeah, the design for us was crucial in that.
So I think the people up here, a lot of you who are here, what we're saying up here, what you're hearing from the panelists, probably isn't necessarily revolutionary or earth-shattering to you. You guys probably share a lot of these same ideas. That's what attracted you to come here, what made you interested in hearing these panelists. But I do think the guys up here are thought leaders. I mean, the Chive has one of the most expensive build-outs in the history of Austin, real estate construction for an office build-out. For anyone who spent time on their site, it just oozes fun. Neville has realized his strengths and knows what his weaknesses are, and he's built a career for himself, just being able to work for himself. I mean, talk about true desk independence. Vijay's at the forefront of the co-working space. Yeah, there might be 58 co-working spaces in Austin, but still only 5% of the Austin population knows what co-working is. And then what GlobeKick is doing is truly revolutionary. So let me put it to you guys, and I'll start with Neville here. Where is this going? Neville, for your job, because there's a lot of independents out here, a lot of people who probably do things similar to you, who just hate other people and don't want to be constrained by that. Where do you see yourself working in 10 years? How are things different, change? And let's really just focus on the workspace, right? Not technology, but the workspace. What's different for you?
Yeah, it's more and more digital. I mean, starting like 2000, everyone had like a desktop computer, then turned into a laptop, then your phone. It's just getting more and more integrated, I'm sure, with like glasses and stuff that pops stuff over. Everything's just getting more and more digital, so location is not that important anymore. I don't see why it is. Unless you're a really big company, it is nice to be cohesive and hang out and everything. But that's also starting to go digital slowly. So 10 years, damn, I don't know. The iPhone was just released 10 years ago. Like, it's really hard to predict all the changes that it's had. But I think with also, like, I do a lot of virtual reality stuff. That stuff is crazy already, and it's still like in the real infancy. And I don't know if you ever tried a virtual reality teleconference, but it feels like you're right there with that person. So I think it's going to go more and more towards that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk with the guys at the Chive. What do you think will change in the way your culture or your workspace looks like in 10 years?
I'm going to give my brother all the credit for an idea that we had, and that as far as getting into the workplace, which is important, and he can go from once you're in your workplace, because it's something that you pointed out, which I think is incredibly important in the amount of people who are employees. Digital plays a part in getting the job, right? More and more these days. But I can tell you a story, like every time the Chive posts a job listing, we get 10,000 requests. That's what we were getting. We didn't know how to solve that problem because we can't ferret through that information properly. So we thought, everyone who wants a job has to submit their resume along with a 60-second video of who they are. It took submissions from 10,000 down to 100. That is a 99.9% reduction in people who fucking want the job. So if you want a job, I'll give you some great advice. Once we post something on Resignation Media about jobs, here's the new thing. All I'm looking for is the guy who walks in the door and tells my secretary he saw the job posting and wants to meet with me. Because I know he's better than 99.9 already, and that's the person I want to meet with. And how important is that? So as much as digital is going and going, and we can get in LinkedIn, and there's so many digital applications to getting a job, we strip it down to the rudiments. Because wanting the job will never change. And there's no digital application for that. There's no metric, except you gotta fucking want it. And once I see you want it, you're probably gonna work at the Chive. And it's something we're thinking about, because I don't give a shit if you have a college education. Leo does. He wants you to have a college education. But I don't care if you do or not.
But you can lie on your resume.
But
we all
once
know
you
that.
get in, I'll let Leo take it from there. But it's the getting in part that matters. If you see a job application, you're in New York, you're in Austin, Chicago, whatever, walk in the fucking office. Because guess what? In this day and age, nobody else is. And if you're a smart guy, if you're an employer, that's the one you want.
That's a fantastic answer. I wish I had asked that question. Leo.
Hey, like Oxy's a powerful drug. If you break your leg,
It's a hell of a drug.
it is amazing. A Percocet at night is also good.
Leo, how are things going to change at the Chive in 10 years, if at all?
I mean, how do I follow drugged Braveheart here? Well, I think a lot of things. Well, we've all seen what's old is new again, and I think there's a good meet in the middle. Like, right now, you made a good point about the iPhone, smartphones having their advent 10 years ago. And then we're living in a world of hyper mobile adoption when it comes to consuming content. And it's tough for us to handle because it moves so fast. Because the minute we thought we had desktop mastered, everything went to mobile. Thank God we had an iOS and Android app to kind of catch that. But at the same time, like, it's a small screen and you can't do everything on it, and the experience is never going to be the same. So the comparison I'm making here is, as things suck hard in one direction, there's an ebb and flow to everything, and they're going to suck back. And so when you talk about what's going to change within the office space in the next 10, even 20 years, I think we're seeing that suck out towards co-working spaces. And, well, no, the suck actually was working from home. And I think right now we're in that meet in the middle of, all right, get the fuck out of your living room in your pajamas and come hang out with some people and come socialize. And as these ebb and flows go, I don't think that much is going to change. Like, I mean, I'm a media practitioner. I read articles all the time about how these open workspaces are great for collaboration, and they're so much better than these siloed offices with closed doors.
They are.
They are, but there's a need for privacy sometimes, and there's a need for conference rooms, and I think the industry needs to quit beating itself up sometimes, and everything's different for the industry that you're in. Like, I'm in a digital media bubble, right? And we change things all the time. So for what we're doing right now, I think it's working really well. And we have offices in New York and LA. We've got 100 people in Austin and 50 people on the coast. And we utilize Google Hangouts a lot, right? Like, I have meetings with people on the TV, and that's normal to me now. I don't think people are gonna put headsets on quite yet, right? I mean, there's gonna be some augmentation going on where your coworker 2,000 miles away is sitting in front of you, and there's a novelty about that, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'll just get on the phone, you know? I don't think it's gonna change that much because we've already changed so much recently.
Okay, let's go Vijay. Vijay, what do you see happening?
Yeah, so as much as I want to tell myself that there's not another co-working place or space happening in my neighborhood or down the street or in Austin, you know, the direction I think this is going is kind of the coffee shop model, right? I mean, you look at Starbucks, you look at, you know, a lot of coffee shops here locally, Austin Java, they're popping up in every corner. There are in almost every corner. And I think if co-working spaces are going to continue the trend that's happening today, I think they're going to have to get more competitive, have a better offering, and I think you're going to see a lot more of them where just the atmosphere and dynamic is much more intimate. So you kind of have your local space that you just hop on over to, and you know everyone there. It's not, you know, it's not a space with 500 people. It's a space with maybe 50 to 100 people, and you walk in the door, everyone knows your name. They know what you're drinking when you walk up to the bar. They know what you're doing in your business. They know where you are in your Series A and everything else. And I think that whole experience becomes a little more intimate. There's a lot more, there's a lot more of these spaces popping up. You know, in a perfect world, in 10 years, I kind of agree with you. I think the VR is going to play a huge role. You know, sitting on a beach with my little headset and my laptop and just taking a conference call would be the ideal. You know, if that really happens, who knows? But
the tan lines, man, the tan lines.
Exactly.
I'm VJ's jawline, man. That's the important thing.
Oxy, what was it? Percocet, Oxy?
I would have liked your jawline if it wasn't for the Oxy. Everybody's been talking about it.
Okay, Rad, let's talk about GlobeKick, and you think the impact. I mean, we know there's another competitor out there, Remote Year. I don't know how many other companies there are like there. Even if there are 100 competitors, the penetration would be so low when you think about all the employees just in the United States. So what is y'all's vision? What is GlobeKick's vision in 10 years? Is everyone doing this? Is just a normal thing? You know, are you the company who doesn't have paid maternity leave today if in 10 years you don't have some sort of remote work opportunity?
Yeah, I think that is the future. I think that desk independence, this idea, employers will have desk independence policies, right? Now, they're going to show up in many different ways. Some of them might just be, hey, you can work from home for a month or 2 months or whatever. I think the workspace is incredibly important. I think what Chive has is incredibly important. I like people coming together and collaborating as teams. You can do that in a co-working space. You can do that in a more classical office space. But I think the importance of the flexibility to allow people to experience whatever it is they like. We're banking on the fact that travel as the second fastest growing segment of the economy is also a part of that, right? So you can tie these two things together where people are going to be more mobile. People already are buying travel more and more, especially with the millennial generation. You know, more are looking into travel and experience than buying homes. So we think, yeah, the future is employers will have this as a benefit for all of their employees. And I think in some ways, you know, John said it. He said that it's, and you said intimacy, and you said kind of the old is new again. A lot of what we're doing is really old school, right? We're building community. We're getting people together. Like, how many people here really know their neighbors? It's weird. We've disconnected, no, it really is. But with the advent of technology, we've kind of disconnected ourselves. So we're reconnecting through these collaborative experiences and spaces and making deeper connections through a workspace even. And I think that's the value behind co-working, GlobeKick, and things like that. We're building community. It's that simple.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, please do.
Really quick show of hands. How many people in the audience go to church? Okay, a few folks. So when I was in this meeting on Monday, one of the folks mentioned or compared co-working to church. And they're like, if you look at the trend of folks going to church, it's declining pretty drastically. And if you look at the folks going to co-working spaces, it's increasing. And we've become the modern day church, right? Like, people come here and they're praising their business. It sounds crazy. It sounds
He didn't
crazy.
mean it just like that. He meant in terms of looking for community.
And the community aspect, and only the community aspect. I don't think the religious part and holier than thou. No. But in terms of building a community, I think that it's a trend that's happening, and you touched on it, Rad. And thanks for getting my back. I feel like an asshole now. But anyways,
So I want to end with some closing thoughts from everyone. And I'm just going to start here with John, and then we'll go to Leo to get their viewpoints, and then we'll walk down this way with closing thoughts. I want to share something with you guys. The thing that we're missing here is the big Fortune 500 company, right? Those guys aren't here today. But I know for a fact that those guys are engaging co-working spaces to help them build out their next office spaces. So they're trying to create this kind of community collaborative atmosphere inside of their offices. I mean, Google's campus is one thing, and I think we probably you can see the movies or read about it. But that sort of thing is coming. So this isn't just, this isn't going to be just limited to the small business, the startup, or the independents. But the big companies are going to do these things as well. So let's just do closing thoughts. John, Leo, is there anything that you didn't get a chance to share with the audience today that you wanted to share with them?
No, I think we did. It really is like every when you break up with someone, every girl's gonna tell you that you miss the little things, and that's what it starts with. It really sometimes it can be the sun chips. Like there's not a lot of companies that we can throw around some sloshy cash at our employees to make them happy, but that's not what it takes. It takes really the little things. Start with the little things to make people happy. And it's those small generosities, those small ceremonies that make all the difference, really. Like, you don't have to go over the top, When you break up, it's either the big things or the little things. So to avoid the breakup, just start with the small things, and that starts with generally just encouragement.
That was really lucid. I think the shit's
right
wearing off.
now, I'm just on the Oxy. If I was on the Percocet, we're going deep.
Leo? Leo, any closing thoughts?
I don't have anything that deep or philosophical to add. But you did make a good point about the big dogs are weighing in on what the startups are doing. Good friend of mine works at IBM, and and this is so apropos because it's South by right now, and everyone is weighing in, especially the people with the deep pockets, and these are the big Fortune 500 companies, and they've already started adopting what we're all doing. And good on them, they should, because right now it's a game of it, especially when you're trying to not just hire the kids out of college, you're trying to hire the people who are in their mid to late 20s, or maybe they're having this career remorse and they're trying to jump into a new industry. Like, culture weighs in, and so the competition's great, and we live in a world of competition. We always say it's great for the consumer, but in this case, the competition in the workplace for workplace environments is great for the employee. And that's awesome. Like, I applaud that. Like, it's about that damn time that everyone got on board with it. At the end of the day, everyone's going to go pick where they're going to want to work. They're going to work there for 2.5 years, so they didn't stay there for too short a time, so it looks bad on a resume, but they're just going to keep hopping around. And we're happy to be a part of that,
Neville?
Well, just a random thought of stuff.
Is there anything that you
I don't have
wanted
anything
to get out? People like to hear themselves speak.
The
Generally.
one thing I was thinking about how you stay productive in a co-working space, dude, the best ROI investment I ever bought was a $5 pack of earplugs. And they're just amazing. I don't know why. I'm just in my own little world whenever I use them. So no matter where you are, there's like a ping pong game going on. You can use those. That's my only advice.
Travel with earplugs. Closing thoughts?
Yeah, we're now selling earplugs for $5 to pick up your. I don't. I mean, I think everyone's kind of touched on some pretty remarkable things. The Chive guys are incredible. I'm inspired by your story and what you guys are doing. and GlobeKick. I mean, the whole. Everything that's happening today. As we've touched on, the workspace revolution is happening. I mean, things are changing. It's changing dynamically. It's changing really quickly. And This is how I'll close. It all came together just now. I went to my bank, Capital One, the other day, and I walked in, and all the cubicles were gone. And I looked at what was happening. It was just a long, like, kind of communal table. And I was like, what is this? Like, it's how we're doing things now. They had a couple iPads on the table, and I went and literally created.
They repossessed it from a startup.
They
wasn't paying their loans.
Literally, I was thinking about charging them a royalty because they stole my idea. And it felt like I was just walking into a tech company. And that's the way the world's happening. And the most traditional of institutions, like a bank to tech companies to apparel companies, it's happening all over the world, all over the place. And and for a lot of the folks out here who may work for a Fortune 500 company, don't be surprised or shocked if you start to see your company, if it's not doing it already, start to move towards this more collaborative, open desk, workspace. And I think it's going to continue to happen, and nothing's slowing it down.
Radney, closing thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I think with GlobeKick, we have a kind of a mantra where it's like trade certainty for curiosity, right? And I think with this workspace revolution, I don't really know where it's going to be in 10 years, where it's going, but everyone here is a part of that. And just being curious about what the new workspace will be like, or how we're going to create it or collaborate together, is something that I think if we all take that with us and in our jobs and how we interact with people that we work with, we just want to be a part of that conversation, right? And if you do that, you will be a part of that greater conversation.
Okay, guys, I'd like to start by, first of all, congratulating Vijay. This space is badass. Can we give a round of applause for atxFactory? Congratulations. Really, really cool. Best of luck to you. Thank you to John and Leo. Thank you to Neville, Vijay, Radney. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Let's go party.